Hi, my name's Dee and welcome to Untitled Tarot and welcome to your full moon Halloween Gods at Play reading. Now, if there is a sign in the title below, then it's one of my standard format videos, but the actual reading itself will be taken from a live stream I am doing 6 p.m. GMT to celebrate Halloween and to celebrate the channel's first birthday. If you're seeing this beforehand, then it's going to have a general reading at the end. But as ever, I'm going to look into the full moon and have a discussion of what I see on the full moon. However, I can't do it as good as all the professional astrologers. So there is a link in the description down below for a Facebook page for this channel, where obviously I post these videos and where you'll find my live stream and what have you. When I finally do it, wish me luck. Mars and Mercury retrograde, so let's see if it works. But I also post all of the astrology forecast, weather report type videos that I'm learning from as well. And obviously it's right at the start of the month, or it's right at the start of next month. So there's a lot on there at the moment. I will recommend Ksenia Moore's full moon video, Wonder Girl Astrology's full moon video, and oh, there was a third one I wanted to point out as well. What was it? No, it's gone. I'll remember it at some point. But yes, I'm not going to be looking at the standard astrology because I don't know enough about it yet. I am still learning. I have the pleasure of learning from Rick Levine, who is great. So we'll see how it all goes. So, as I say, Facebook link down below. The good thing about that page as well, it has an inbox. So if you're wanting to contact me directly for a personal reading, then that's the way to do it. And as ever, as I say, if there is a sign in the title down below, there's also a timestamp in the description so that you can get past all of my waffle if you've seen it once already. And get straight to the reading, because really you should watch 3 of them. Watch your moon, obviously, it's a full moon reading. Watch your sun, because that's what we're all trained to do now, and that's the I am. But importantly, watch your rising sign. And if you don't know what your rising sign is, there is a link in the description down below where you can get yourself a free birth chart. There's no end of sites on the internet to get hold of that. And so what I'm going to do is I've put a lot of work into this video, so you're going to have to excuse the odd little bit of editing here and there, because there's a lot that I want to say and I want to make sure that I say it right. Now, as you're probably well aware, a full moon is sun opposition moon, and we have the moon at 8 degrees 38 minutes of Taurus, and therefore the sun at 8 degrees 38 minutes of Scorpio. Now, the moon is conjunct Uranus by a small distance of 3 minutes. You know, they are literally that far apart, their centres. So Taurus is a sign about stability. Uranus, not so much. Lightning, change, shock, transformation, great revelation. So we have the moon settling nicely into the stability of Taurus, with Uranus there trying to shake everything up. Now, that could be very interesting when we look at the time that we're in, especially if you are in America right now. So just because October is very nearly over, do not think that we will escape having some form of October surprise or another. Let's face it, pretty much every day of October has been an October surprise of some form or another. Now, the Scorpio-Taurus axis is one all about growth and change. Let me bring my notes up so that I know what I'm talking about. As the polarity, the Taurus mission is to root in and establish an earthly form, whereas Scorpio has that more transformative element to it. It has an urge to merge, to share resources, with the idea that the creative union will bear even more fruit. So if Taurus is about the shape of things, then Scorpio shifts that shape, and to do that uses its own resources and sometimes others too. Now, with Uranus in the mix there, the shape-shifting may end up being to an entirely new form, or something that initially might appear quite uncomfortable, because shock is exactly that, shock. It is never pleasant, even if it has a good result. You think if you open a door and there's someone that you haven't seen for years and years, and you're really pleased about seeing them, but you didn't expect anybody to be behind that door, you still have that moment of, oh, heck, there's somebody there, until it's like, oh, it's my old mate, and give them a big hug, or a socially distanced elbow bump, or what have you. But you've still had that moment of, so we're looking, really, I don't think we can make plans yet until after the effects of this new moon, or particularly the Moon-Uranus conjunction, has happened. Definitely, with this being the moon, this could be a sudden change in feelings. It could be a sudden change in the home. It could be a sudden change in the emotional environment. And it's Uranus. It could be a sudden change in anything. But it will be something that's fast, and it will cause a shift in whatever it is that you are trying to build. So let's just have a look at the symbols for 8 degrees Taurus, because every degree has its own symbols. We have the Chandra symbols, which I think is the same name for the inside degrees that you will hear astronomers talk about. Obviously, there's the Sabian symbols as well. Now, the Taurus, 8 degrees Taurus, the inside degree is a talkative woman with tape over her mouth. And what this describes is the creative force at odds with itself. What you would do, what you wouldn't do, facing the truth that everything personally generated fails to satisfy. Spirit is 8-4 in its absence. Something is missing. Massive pride comes screeching to a halt. It's a very high vibration, which again, if you think about Uranus, Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, if I remember rightly. So communication that's coming in. And let's not forget that we've got Mercury retrograde and Mars retrograde all going on in this. And if I remember correctly, isn't Mercury retrograde in Scorpio? Let me just have a look at my full moon chart, which all of a sudden I seem to have misplaced. Why would it not be there? Of course not. Anyway, there we go. I found it. So let's have a look. No, it's regressed back into Libra by this point, but it's gone into Scorpio and then come back again. So there is a sort of an element of that transformation power going on. Now I've lost my symbols. Where have I put them? No, that's Scorpio. A very high vibration, inward places calling you, but the abyss features radical self-overcoming. And there is nothing to say, everything to do, with nobody left to do it, except the forgotten one inside who knows the way. Now that is beautiful, and it really calls into that idea of the shape-shifting that the Scorpio-Taurus axis brings in, because of that very phrase, their radical self-overcoming. So this is hopefully a wonderful opportunity for us to move past one of our own blocks or one of our own goalposts. Do not forget that this is the night, right around the world, this is the night where the veil between this world and the next is supposed to be the thinnest. It is also the Celtic New Year. So anything that we set into motion tonight is something that or, you know, under the light of the full moon, which is really a 3-day period, but you can consider the full moon energies to be lasting towards the new moon, where the new moon wipes the slate clean and we start again. But there is support to be had, there is doorways to peer through, there are doorways to look through, and there's information to be received. And again, Uranus, being the higher vibration of Mercury, indicates that element of transformative information. Now, talking about it being the Celtic new moon and any changes that we now could be lasting over for the upcoming year. Sorry, the Celtic New Year, not new moon. Celtic New Year. This degree is ruled over by a degree angel called Rahael. Now, the sun is ruled over. Is ruled by an angel called Sitael, which I will get to later. But what they promise is longevity. This is what the Rahael within 8 degrees Taurus and various other degrees scattered around the zodiac promises health and longevity. So something that we can put into practice now, or something that we can build on the basis of, oh my God, where did that come from, is something that is going to last quite some time. In fact, let me dive into Sitael, who is ruling the sun at 8 degrees Scorpio, and Sitael is ruling both the sun and Jupiter at 20 degrees Capricorn. Now, Jupiter is only just 20 degrees. It's 20 degrees 59 minutes. So one could argue that it's 21 degrees, but I have no doubt that angels work in order and therefore they're going to be a stickler for mathematics. So we are within that 20 degrees Capricorn range, which means that anything that we are bringing into being, gaining that longevity with Rahel, is something that is going to grow. And what Sitael brings is a way to overcome adversity. Let me just have a look at my notes about him. There's yes, he is a seraph invoked to overcome adversity, rules the nobility, and one of the 72 angels of the zodiac, one of the Shem Hamethrash. But with him, with his ability to overcome adversity, both being focused through the sun, the I am, and through Jupiter, the expansive planet, the planet that makes things bigger. Even if Jupiter is still in Capricorn, it's making things bigger according to the rules, but there is a wonderful spirit shining through that sun that I wouldn't be surprised, especially with Uranus in the mix, is, yeah, we will expand with what we are creating to overcome adversity within the rules. And we might make some of those rules up as we are going along. Now, the decans that these are in are also ruled by the goetic spirits. Now, let me move my pad out the way and you can see the cards. So, change camera. And we have, for the moon and for the 8 degrees Taurus, we have Epos for the daytime and Amy for the nighttime. For the sun, we have Gamagin and Raum, and let me just bring the cards for Rahel and Sitael in. So here we have Rahel representing love and submission, which is part of his astrological designations, but Sitael, the creation of all things, which I have to say is a very, very beautiful, beautiful image of what we can create. And we are in a time, especially in America, where creation is called for, where in America you have your vote. Use your vote. Definitely vote. People died so that you could use that vote. Whatever your political leanings are, voting is better than not voting. It means that you are actually exercising your say. And like any election, yeah, it probably is the lesser of two evils. I certainly think that there is a greater and a lesser evil, as I imagine anybody with any opinions about anything to do with American politics thinks one way or another. And a lot of elections, you have to hold your nose. But it's better than just leaving it up to everybody else, I think, is one way to look at it. But there is so much promise of change after we have whatever shock revelation that it is. Now, with the decans and the Goetic spirits, now the Goetia is the 78, 72, 78? 78, no, that's tarot card, 72 demons that Solomon summoned and bound to build his temple. They each controlled decans, and one controls a decan in the daytime and one controls the decan in the nighttime. So with the moon and Epos and the sun and Gamagin, or Samagina, as he is known. Now, this to me indicates a time of revelation. Strangely enough, revelation, especially concerning those who have passed on in sin, which is that Epos, or is that, yes, that's Gamagin or Samagina. He teaches the liberal sciences and delivers news about people who have died in sin. He can summon the souls of drowned men and those who are in purgatory. Whereas Epos imparts confidence, eloquence, presence, independence, inspiration, humour, grace and bravery. He can also cause destruction. He can reconcile friendships, reveal secrets. So again, we've got that image of revelation of some secrets, and influence decisions. And you can say that in a political campaigning period, there's a lot of people trying to influence decisions. He rules over self-development and divination. And what was it that Chandra symbol was saying with Taurus? That radical self-overcoming. So for the daytime energies, if the full moon's in the daytime, any form of transformation that you are embarking upon has that little bit of whammy, that little bit of extra support that you might not have accepted beforehand. Now let's have a look at what's going on at night time. Now this is Raum, and Raum with the sun, 8 degrees Scorpio, and Amy with 8 degrees Taurus. Now, Amy is a warrior. Raum steals and relocates treasures, often from kings. I'll leave that one there. Now, what I can draw from that sort of reaction, so this is where the full moon is happening at night time. It can be people fighting to keep or regain what they have, had, or more to the point, those that are in power losing resources while the general populace is empowered to fight and to stand up. And this standing up point is another part of this full moon, which I will explain, because I drew a chart for the end of the Mayan calendar for the point that the sun goes into 0 degrees Capricorn back in 2012. So that was the 21st of December. I think it was also one of the doomsdays, wasn't it? Oh my God, the Mayan calendar is coming to an end. That's it. The world's cancelled. Yeah. How do you think about that now? Now we know what a cancelled world looks like. Now, the sun in this full moon, 8 degrees Scorpio, is conjunct the Saturn out of that chart. Now, let me just find, because I've put some notes down here. Of course, I'm not finding it very... here we go. So, yes, it is conjunct to the Sun by 1 minute. 1 minute. I mean, they are practically on top of one another. Now, the when the Sun conjuncts Saturn, let's have a look what I've got written here. It's a time to stand up. It can be a time of great satisfaction with achievements, recognition and promotion, and it can also be the other side, a time of privation, insecurity and hardship. Now, I imagine there's going to be an element of either or going on. Again, if you look at the political scene, but it's not just all about America. This is this personal transformation energy is worldwide. And there are certainly a lot of political forces acting worldwide at this same time that will all benefit or be debilitated by this very transit. Now, if you think about what the end of the Mayan calendar was, the Mayan calendar, the Bactun, is a huge cycle, and astrology is all about cycles. And the fact that we are being called to remember through the I Am, through the Sun, to the chart of the end of the Mayan calendar, to the planet of time, of, yes, restrictions, but more to the point, lessons. I mean, one thing that you do have to remember is, okay, Kronos ate his children. Yeah, we know. But he also ruled over a golden age on the earth before those children all managed to escape, thanks to Zeus being hidden in a cave. So it is that ancient golden age. It is a promise of that golden age, which again, the end of the Mayan calendar did used to talk about. Now we're going to start elevating. So if you want to talk about all the here comes the age of Aquarius business, you can do. I'm still not entirely sold that we are anywhere near Aquarius, but if you think about it, that's not a change that's going to change like that. That's a change that's going to have the world change over the course of, at the very least, several decades, if not a few hundred years. But I think it is absolutely beautiful that this one full moon, on the night where the veil is thinnest, is calling us back to the energies of the great cycle of the Mayan calendar, with the message, it is time to stand up and be counted. Sun conjunct Saturn transit means you must stand up and be counted. Hard work, discipline and patience are needed to attend to your duties and obligations, and you may have to take on extra responsibility or act as a mentor and guide. Now, if we are here to change the planet, let's get on with it. There's your extra work and responsibility. If we are here to help other people realise their role in changing the planet, being that mentor and guide, get on with it. Also, be aware that this is an energy affecting everybody, so you may suddenly find the arrival or the influence of a mentor or guide is really appropriate for you right now. But as we hear so many times, and America has definitely heard this so many times over the past few weeks, we are at a precipice. We are at a precipice with the virus. We are at a precipice politically. There are war tensions across the planet. There are political unrest across the planet. And there are people trying to enforce lockdowns. Some for, well, Hopefully all of them for the good reason of trying to get rid of the virus. But lots of people are questioning that one way or another. So, you know, there's so many different ways that you can look at things. I personally think there is a killer virus on the loose. Let's minimize contact for the time being, because with a sky like this, there is plenty of work we can be getting on with, and there is plenty of personal transformation that we can be getting on with. Now, what is also interesting is that this 8 degrees Taurus, let me find my note here, is that of, no, it's the sun. So again, it's that time to stand up and be counted. Is Edgar Allan Poe's North Node. So if you want to think about someone who has, with the effect of their life, have done something with longevity that has stood the test of time. We all know Poe's stories to this day. We all know what Poe represents. There's a rather interesting point about how he was supposed to have died. Let me just bring those details up. Give me a second. No, that's not there. So basically, he had died of what looks like alcoholism, or at least, and he was a known drinker, but at least on the night where he was found, he was utterly, not sure what word I can use on YouTube and not get struck for it. So he was drunk. He was very, very drunk. But there's a really interesting one theory from 1872. I got this from Wikipedia. You know, I do all the best research. Suggests that cooping was the cause of Poe's death. Now, what this is a form of electoral fraud in which citizens were forced to vote for a particular candidate, sometimes leading to violence and even murder. So they would get somebody drunk and then take them from polling station to polling station to polling station, getting them to vote for the specific candidate of their choice. That's something I think that we need to watch out for, because remember, it is time to stand up and be counted. It is time to transform. It is time to overcome your own barriers and really, really transform. And I think that's everything that I want to talk about in this video about the full moon. I have another aspect of the full moon that I'm going to discuss in a separate video, because I'll give you a quick précis of it. I'm a comics geek. You can tell somewhat, can't you? So I very much see superheroes and the comic superheroes as a modern mythology. They are playing out those archetypal stories again and again and again. So as I started learning astrology, I was like, well, this is so heavily mythology based. Oh, I will have a look at various points in comics history. You know, I've drawn up charts for when certain characters are introduced to the public. So it's publication day, New York, 6 a.m. always, depending where the company is based, but pretty much New York, 6 a.m. Of the shipping day of that comic, and that is the birth of a character. I can discuss that another time. But I also have done charts for the publication just of certain comics. This full moon is conjunct the Mars of DC's 2005 crossover Infinite Crisis. Now, if you follow comics, you know what I'm talking about. If you're interested on where I'm going to go with this, keep your eye out for my Infinite Crisis full moon video, which I'm going to film after this one. But in the meantime, back to the more serious stuff. Let me shuffle cards and start the general reading. Okay, Scorpio, here is your late full moon reading, because it didn't happen on the live stream on Saturday night, but it's such an important full moon that I thought I really did need to do these readings for you. Now, if you're familiar with these Gods at Play readings, we have the top row, which is the masks that the archons wear as they try and keep us vibrating in negative frequencies, you know, fear, misery, separation from the divine, all that. And then on the bottom row, we have the gods that are trying to lift you up. Now, you've got a really clear story coming through this time, but let me just take you through the gods as and the archontic masks. So, working to oppress you, the archons wearing the masks of these gods. We have Ra with power, Achilles with glory, Amaterasu with self-esteem, Uranus with remoteness, and Gwabankex with wrath. Immediately, there is a story there that you are being called to action. There's a lot of calls to action in these full moon readings, but you are being called to action to exercise some form of power. To exercise some form of power, almost, well, literally for your own glory, with Achilles here, but almost as a way of overcompensating for something, or even just compensating for something. You know, it doesn't have to be overcompensating, but this is coming from a point of anger, and also coming from a point of not really knowing all the ins and outs of a situation that is transpiring. You are being called to anger with Gwabankex here, but you are being made angry about something that's something that you are remote from, something that you are distant from, something where you do not know all the ins and outs, mainly because your attention so far has been focused elsewhere. You know, you haven't had all the information that you are needing. Now, we can definitely see that as a call to arms from Scorpio, for Scorpios, with the subsequent events that will be happening this month, tomorrow, with the American election. But this can also be reflecting on a personal level, that there may be some way that you are made aware of something, that you are being encouraged to be angry about it, or you may well be angry about it. But if you are, remember that you do not know all the details, because you are a long way away from where this situation is happening. Now, the gods that are supporting you tell a completely different story. Or at least, that's not true. They're telling exactly the same story, but a different angle to take on it. We start with Zeus with leadership, Helios with illumination, Sekhmet with reduction, Persephone with transformation, and Gaia with creation. So, what I'm already seeing there is this call to angry action, call to exhibit your power, and call to make yourself look not weak, make yourself look strong and decisive, and all those good leadership things that are a load of nonsense, because they either exist or they're not. You either are strong or you're not. You either are decisive or you're not. And sometimes it's okay for a leader to not be decisive. There's sometimes it's okay for a leader to go, I don't know enough. Let me think on it. Let's just see how it's panning out so far. Sometimes that's okay. You know, you don't have to take action on everything immediately. But there is definitely this encouragement to do this. But you will have the opportunity with this leadership card from Zeus to go, nah, that's not the way. That is, we don't just use our power for the sake of using our power, because what are you going to achieve? There is facts that need to be found out, and we need to keep this simple. Now, this role that you are being thrust into should you accept it. So you've got two invitations here. One from the Archons, be angry and express your power. And feel better for it. Honestly, it's going to make you feel better. You're going to feel so much stronger and more powerful and more in control by actually reacting to this anger. And it may well be a very justified anger from the little that you know, because you do not know all the ins and outs of it. But if you don't know all the ins and outs of it, what Helios is saying here is find out the ins and outs of it. Dig into it. It's not going to be that hard. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, so bring what details you need to find to the surface. And it's not going to take... The thing with Helios, the light of the sun, it's there. Whether you want it or not, the light of the sun is there for however many hours a day, depending on where you are in the world. It is not something that is difficult to reach. And so that's where, to combat this remoteness, I'm feeling like a little bit of investigation, a little bit of holding back and saying, let me find out, is actually going to be quite an easy process. Because it's really, I'm really struck by this interplay between this temptation to use your power and this leadership card from Zeus that is, it's in opposition to the use of power. It's literally, I got the feeling as I was laying the cards of the Zeus card going, no, that's not what we do. And then the story unfolded as the more cards came down. So there's definitely an urge to keep it simple and find out true facts. Find out, find out the ins and outs. Because if you were distant from the situation, there's going to be stuff you don't know. Bear in mind, I can be talking on a fighting through fake news level, or I can be talking on a far more personal level than that. And with these Gods at Play reading, they're God cards. They're going to be dramatic. So you may be seeing this in the overarching political story of the world, or just something that's going on in the office this week. If you are lucky enough to be able to be going to the office, if you're not in lockdown, and assuming that you feel lucky in going to the office. But yes, with Ra, that call to action, that Seven of Wands there is, I always feel in this particular deck, I'm using Tarot Apocalypsis this time, that it's a call to action. It's someone leading their troops. It is that next stage on from the Six of Wands, where in the Six of Wands you declare victory or you could be marching out to war. And on the Seven of Wands, here's that rousing speech. This is the role of Captain America, giving all the heroes the pep talk and speech that they need just before they all set out on the final climax of the mission or what have you, because that's Captain America's job. But with the Hanged Man over the Achilles Glory card, this is nice. I'm feeling that as much as you may exercise that power, it leads to confusion. It leads to that point of, is this really what I wanted? You know, do I want to go this way? And the All Gifted card with Amaterasu is saying you do not need to be compensating for something. You need to have the leadership to go against that criticism and go, I'm not being weak. I'm being strong by not being tempted into action like that. Yes, Queen of Wands, taking time to make the decisions, gaining information with the wands, because I know wands are an air, information is an air thing, but I always associate it with wands as well. Keep it simple so you know what the fight actually is. And I like this Five of Swords in this deck because although the Five of Swords is traditionally some form of combat, some form of argument that has either just passed or we're right in the middle of it. But this particular one, if I hold it to the camera, it's a card, it feels to me, full of camaraderie. It's people who have faced challenges together and know how to proceed forward. And look at them. This might be the night before they go out to war, but they're having a good night in the tavern first and enjoying themselves because they know what's important, and that's the bonds between them. So, not a traditional Five of Swords at all, that one. But taking that leadership role is opening up a whole new world for you. You are getting transformed. You are getting transformed in the sense of dreams that have value, in the sense of, well, Six of Cups is that nostalgia card, isn't it? But here we have some form of banquet going on within a temple. There is an offering to the gods at the back of the room. The six, it immediately reminds me, this one, of also the Six of Pentacles, where you're assigning value. And if you remember, through the sixes, contentment and value is a theme that goes all the way around. So it's almost like that the domestic situation for you is transformed in a positive way. I'm not getting that nostalgia. I'm getting that touch of literally allowing the gods into your home and allowing them to be part of your life. And that's nice. So Gaia with creation at the very end here is what we got on the bottom of the deck. Four of Pentacles. Gaia at the end here with the creation card, taking this leadership role, digging out for the information. Yeah, it's from a distance, but you're going to, as you dig into that information, you're going to find some treasures that make you just, the feeling I'm getting, they make you go, oh, that's great. So whatever it is that is that call to anger, look into it, because when you look into it, you're going to find some form of treasure within it that is not necessarily to do with what's made you angry, but you find it along the path. It is related, but it's not the direct thing. It's not going to be that something makes you angry and then all of a sudden you think it's wonderful, but something that makes you angry and you look into it and you find out that things that are making you angry, well, that's only half the story. And here's another bit of a different story that's vaguely linked, and that's really good. That's really great. So there's this wonderful sense of charging forward and becoming. The Prince of Wands card, I've got this sense of like a form of initiation with Persephone and transformation and Gaia and creation. Both of these are saying positive transformations here, positive new fertile times. And also the fact that from the Oracle of Heaven and Hell, now it's not reversed because there is no reverse with this deck, but I did shuffle them upside down. So the card that's come out, card number 68, it's Belial or Habuhia. Now I want to look at Belial, not because of his astrological association of famine and sickness, but Belial, if you work with the Goetia, is very much one to teach you to push at your own boundaries, to go, oh look, I've been limiting myself there. Is that a good idea? Do I want to continue limiting myself there? Or do I want to push at it and push those boundaries away a little? There's it can be a dramatic teaching, it can be a very gentle teaching depending on which particular limitation and boundary you're looking at, but Belial teaches that the one thing that should define you is you, not your limitations, not the things that you've learnt or unlearnt along your way to wherever you are today. It's you decide what defines you, not information that's just come from your parents or from schools or from society or whatever. So all in all, if you step up and take that leadership role and go, hang on a minute, we need to look into this, you're going to find that you can boil down this conflict to something quite simple. And by doing that, you have allies, you have some camaraderie, and you take the sting out of that anger. It transmutes from, we must do something about this, to, that's a problem that needs sorting, and here's how you sort it. So there's a wonderful simplicity and calmingness. Now, I never thought I would say that Sekhmet was a calming deity, but that is definitely the role that she's playing here. And there's with her interplay with Helios, I'm thinking about the investigation and the hunter's power of the cat that Sekhmet is. It's that once you start looking, you can very easily find and pounce upon the information that you require. So all in all, that's a really positive reading. Now, as a full moon reading, or more to the point, as the full moon reading for the start of the Celtic New Year, this might be a 2-week long reading. This might be a 1-month long reading till the next full moon, or this might be defining the entire Celtic year for you. So, as much as I don't like the phrase, take it as it resonates. And that's it. So my apologies that it was late. I will be live streaming again, maybe doing something a little less complex while I still get used to the technology. And when I get some better technology, and definitely once Mercury turns direct. But enjoy the reading. Please like, share, subscribe. That's it. See you for the monthlies. Cheers.